Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on the Urban Wine Club podcast. I'm your host, Stamos, and with me, my co-host, Claudia Leitzman. Did I say it right?
You said it right.
Excellent.
Well done.
And more importantly, we have a very special guest with us all the way from Greece, our good friend, Dimitris Skouras. Dimitris, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. It's a pleasure to have you here and so excited because we got a lot to talk about.
Awesome. It's a pleasure for me to be here and to get this chance to talk to you guys and be part of this episode.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And, Greek wine, still hot and it's still getting hotter. And we've gone through a whole series of timelines of Greek wine that we can discuss. But what's important for this episode, for me specifically, Claudia, is that Dimitris and his family are, I think, one of the most important representatives or pioneers in the movement of Greek wine today.
Would you say, can I ask why you say this as a consumer? Is it because of the wine stylistically or the history?
Well, if I can add this to our audience, because I want to put things into perspective and then Dimitri can kind of join in on the conversation. In this specific market in the U.S., in the last 30 years, watching Greek wines on the sidelines, we had so many challenges that we faced because of different reasons. And those reasons can include, availability, a level of quality, and stability. In the market being more, unfortunately, used to exposed to maybe just some few options of Greek wines, which might have not been the best choices for them.
Yeah.
But they were never, I should use the word loosely, they never had another opportunity to discover wines back then of what's happened today. So that stigma is what made it challenging, but there were opportunities that were being discovered here and in Greece that were working side by side to create this new image of Greek wine over the course of these last 30 years.
Yeah.
Because when I was younger, a lot younger than both of you, is that our options for Greek wine on the shelves were very limited.
Yeah, lack of exposure. But I feel that there was a lack of exposure for a long time. And it's just so funny to see other countries very close to Greece having way more exposure and access to the U.S. market.
Yeah, and there's all these debates, but at the end of the day, so every country has its own challenges and they have their own successes. And I try not to compare one to the other because it's not fair.
Fair.
Right?
Yeah.
But thankfully, Greece found its moments. And I think the timing could have been better.
We're here for it.
Because I think also the wine industry in general in the U.S. also evolved and developed in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
So the timing was, I think, great.
Right.
So having said that, the immediate hails from the Peloponnese or Peloponnesos, and the name of their property is Domaine Skouras, right, in the heart, which you can tell us more details that I was very fortunate to visit and get to travel through there. It's one thing to say, but it's another thing for you to go there. Let's put it that way. Right?
Noted. Okay. Well, with that being said, first, Dimitri, you're a guest. I want to hear about you, where you come from, how long you've been in the wine business for. Tell us a little bit about your story, and then we'll dive into the family.
Awesome. So I'm a winemaker with Canada for the wineries. And as my background, I kind of grew up in the winery. So until I was really, really young, I was seeing how wine is made. Funny thing is that when I was young, I thought my dad was doing a terrible, terrible job. And the thing is that I remember tasting, months before fermentation. And it will be this nectar, really sweet, really nice for, I was like 8 years old.
It's like a juice box.
Yes, exactly. And then I would taste it after fermentation. So like 7 days after. And it would taste bitter. And how
what did he do?
Serious sugar. I'm like, why did you do that when you had the perfect thing to sell? And that was one of my first memories I had being in the winery. And then growing up, I was never rushed or pressed to be in the wine scene. My father was really, really cool about it, and I think that this is really, really important. He never forced me to do anything. He was like, the winery is my thing. You do yours. If you want to be part of it, okay, I don't mind.
Yeah.
I was really into chemistry while at school and physics and everything. So one day just woke up. I was like 16 years old and decided I go to France. I'll start winemaking. I like chemistry, so it'll be a challenge. I'll do what my father did. I was just like that. I never thought really about it. It was just one day I woke up and I said, I'll do this.
Was there any other career you considered outside of winemaking before doing that?
Before leaving for France, I applied just to be safe for a university in Greece of marketing and economics
Okay.
because I found that to be interesting. But I always was really passionate about biology and chemistry. And honestly, there's no better combination than
Yeah.
wine. It's
Right.
all about chemistry, all about biology, understanding the microorganisms, how everything works, the pH, everything. And that was really, really intriguing about.
Okay. So that's where you started to learn everything when you went to France.
Yes, so I left 18 years old after school, directly for France. I went to Montpellier and I studied there 5 years. Chemistry, winemaking, and viticulture. I ended up with a master's in winemaking, and at the same time, I had the experience to go work in a few wineries in Rhone, in Champagne, in Bordeaux. I even worked a little bit in the States a few years ago.
Where are the States?
I was in Napa and Sonoma. So in Sonoma was with Pisoni wines, which was an amazing experience. And then for a couple of months, I was in Palmyra, Napa,
Wow.
which was also very, very, very nice.
They're famous for
Amazing.
their Merlots at one way.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Wow.
Did you have a favorite region to work with outside of Greece while you were studying and learning?
So I would say that the best experience I got was with Gigal in Rhone Valley. I was there for 3-4 months. I got to work in the vineyards, got to work in the winemaking, and in general, the Gigal family is an amazing family. They were really welcoming. We were having dinner every day with them. They were open to explain everything.
Awesome.
And I was 18 years old. And for me, it was an amazing experience. This is where I kind of said, okay, this is what I like to do. This is where I will keep on doing. And so I decided I would truly be a winemaker.
Amazing.
So that was my best experience.
What a great journey, huh?
Yeah.
Really are. So, having said that, these great experiences and the love and the passion is growing. And is this in the back of your mind kind of tying in like, well, this is what my dad's doing too? And
To be honest, yeah, I think this thought was always in the back of my mind. But, when you're young, there's always this feeling of revolution, of doing something
different.
on the other way.
Yeah.
My dad or family is doing that. I want to do the opposite.
Sure.
And
Classic.
yeah, it's very classic. Right? It's you want to be rebel when you're young. So I always thought, there was thoughts in my mind that I'll do something else, something different, something I don't know, bigger, whatever that is. But because my dad never pressed me on doing that, when I got older, there was more reason in my mind, and I saw that I liked that. I saw that everything close to wine I really like, because I didn't know about wine at the time.
Yeah.
So it kind of naturally evolved in my head and clicked at the right time.
Sort of like we can say Dimitris Odyssey.
I love it. That's great.
He's coming back home.
Yes.
Coming back home, yes.
We're so happy you did.
So
how long have you been working with your dad now?
We've been working together in the winery since 2018, so it'll be 6 years.
Amazing. Okay. And tell us a little bit about your family and the winery's history.
Okay, so everything starts with my father. He has also a really, really interesting story. So no one in my family before my father was involved with wines or vineyards. My grandfather had the small town where I also grew up, a mini market at the time. And my father wanted to be a doctor. And he failed. So he said, okay, I'm leaving for France. I'm going to study chemistry. He left just by doing 3 months of courses in French. So he went with terrible accent, terrible everything, The communication was really, really bad. But he was really decided to do that. And then in the first year of studying, with a professor of him, he visited a winery in South France. And then the guy there took him by the hand and explained everything of these are the vineyards, how it works, how we can make the wine. And it was like, when were you born? 1959. Okay, let's try wine for 1959. When was your father born? 1959. Okay, let's try something. And that blew my father's mind, yes.
Where can I get that experience?
Exactly. I know, I was asking the same thing. And so he went back to university and changed the orientation from chemistry to winemaking. He finished his studies, he became winemaker, and then he came back, worked a little bit in Greece, and before that in French and Italy. And at one point, he decided he wanted to do his own thing. He started by making wine in barrels in the garage of my grandfather,
Nice.
selling some wine, developing space, then building a small winery in one of the regions of the Mea where we're located. And then we built the winery we're located right now, which is also in the Mea. It was built in 2004, so almost 20 years now. And we do everything there right now. So we have the first winery as a storage room for our tractors and everything we need for the cultivation of our vineyards. And everything else is done in the winery, which is located in Argos and Mea.
If I can add, Claudia, to his family's background, if I can include, because I don't want us to forget this, is that Dimitris' father, in my opinion, was one of the foremost pioneers of proving that the local varieties of Greece, specifically the Mea, had a lot of potential. And over time, they actually did all of their hard work and efforts to bring it to where it's today. So this variety, we'll talk about after into the segment, but the variety I'm referring to is called Agogitico, which we'll talk about more soon. But it's because of and I'm sure there's others that played a major role in this whole development, but I think your father was, I think, one of the foremost pioneers in starting this movement with Agogitico. Just want to add that.
That's very cool. No, I appreciate that. That's something that makes the winery and the story really special.
Thank you.
Yeah. And what year? Tell me what year did
The winery started?
Yeah.
My father started the winery back in 1986.
Okay.
So almost 40 years.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And I'd love to go into how many wines you offer now and kind of just talk a little bit about what we have here today. I kind of want to sniff and swirl and sort of experience as well. If you want to tell us a little bit about the wine specifically and what you're all about.
Perfect. So, as explained, the winery is it's located in Nemea. So, Nemea is one of the most important bread producing regions in Greece. And the main variety, or the only one that you can use for the PDOs, is Agogitico. Can you say Agogitico?
No.
You should try it.
No.
There's
I'm insecure. Can you break it down?
Yes. Will be your Gitico.
Gitico.
Try again.
Your Gitico?
There you go.
I'm fluent. Wow. Cheers to that. Thank you all for the lesson.
Greek word.
Very proud.
So, Nemea is, I think, one of them. Could you say that it could be the heart of Greece's wine soil? I mean, I know there's other great producing areas, and I know it's maybe not fair, but for me specifically, from the outside looking in, it kind of feels that way.
In a way, even the data would agree with that. I mean, is that right now, Nemea is the biggest appellation of production of red wine.
Okay.
So if we have to talk about it, the most important in terms of volume and you get to try, that will be Nemea. Yeah, it has a huge history in terms of winemaking, and Agogitico also has been grown there for many years. So that will be truly something correct to say.
Agreed. Excellent.
So what I was saying is that we're based in EMEA, and Agogitico is the king variety over there, and the one we're really working on to producing many different wines from Agogitico, some blends, but also some 100% Agogiticos. And the second really important region for us is Arcadia, where the appellation there is called Mantinia, you might have heard of it, where the variety there is Moscow-Filler. Now, can you say Moscow-Filler?
No.
Let's try again.
Let's try.
Think about Moscow.
What?
Moscow. You know, the
Moscow.
Moscow.
Okay.
And then you think about filet.
Filet.
And then you add the word ro.
I can't do this one.
Moscow.
This
Moscow. Filet. Ro.
Filet. Ro.
Moscow Filler.
Moscow.
Yeah,
I didn't say that for that side.
I bet you if you had something to that one,
You're probably right. I feel like I actually haven't heard of that varietal.
Could be.
Well, I'm sure you've come across it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great, restaurateurs that are featuring it, but I'm sure you've come across it at some point.
Okay. I also have these wines. Maybe it's just because I'm not used to pronouncing it.
Yeah,
It's like one of those words where you read but you don't say it because you don't know how to say it.
that's true.
Okay. But so Moscow Filo. I think outside of, we can discuss and have a conversation about it quickly, is that I think Moscow Filo is also a very important grape outside of Assyrtiko as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Assyrtiko right now is probably the number one variety that everyone knows. It's easier to pronounce.
That's
And
true.
it's really famous because of Santorini. That's where it comes from. Everyone visits Santorini, everyone knows Santorini. When they're there, they get to taste the wines. They make some amazing wines, absolutely. And so they learn Assyrtiko.
Is it worth the hype? Or is it just because it's well known?
Well, yes. Unfortunately, because of the hype, it comes at a high cost.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Not only hype, though. I mean, it's pretty difficult right now to grow grapes
That's
there.
true.
But the hype
fair.
has helped
Yeah,
in terms of making the wines.
So, yeah, it's a treat. It's a special treat when you get your hands for a glass of it, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's with that.
Gotcha.
But Moscow Filo has always been around as one of the varieties that was mostly exported and the one that you could get your hands on. And that again, because Mandini as a region is quite big and has a really nice production of Moscow Filo. And it's a really famous variety, really fun variety. And that made it easier for people to produce more, obviously, and export it and showcase it. While on the other hand, Assyrtiko was really, really limited in Santorini. Correct. Now we start seeing Assyrtikos grown outside of Santorini, but still that's where you get
Agreed.
true meaning of Assyrtiko.
But if we can speak quickly about the ecosystem in Mantinia, is I think very unique to produce Moscow Filo in a way that is so refreshing and delicious that most people don't really realize how good this is.
Absolutely.
Well, who would you suggest this to as a non-Greek wine drinker?
Okay. So Moscow Filo in general is a variety that is aromatic, really nice, and always comes with a very, very nice acidity. It's floral, a bit of rose and jasmine, overall white flowers, and always with a nice body, not really heavy, like medium body, but always refreshing acidity. So anyone who likes wines with a bit of acidity and nice aromatics would love this wine. So if you drink muscats, you'll love it. If you drink Jerusalem's, you'll love it. If you drink Riesling, you'll also like it. So it's a combination of these two varieties. Even Sauvignon Blanc, if you like something like which has nice aromatics and nice acidity, this is a perfect way to go. And even Pinot Grigio, it's a bit more aromatic with a bit more acid, but I think if you like Pinot Grigio, you get that way.
Yeah.
And it's pretty interesting because Moscow Filo is also like Pinot Grigio in terms of skins, because Moscow Filo is also gray variety. It has a little bit of color on the skin, slightly rosé.
Right. Okay. It's great. It's delicious.
It's hard to put down.
I know.
But all of what's coming into play right now, Claudia, as you mentioned, is that a lot of what's happening is we're focusing on local varieties. Where at one point in the industry, I was noticing that to kind of play it safe, we were planting international varieties in Greece and kind of blending and just to kind of allow us to get into the international market. But now that I see that there's a good amount of production that's just sticking to local varieties, it makes me feel so proud.
It's good to see the market kind of catching up.
Yes.
That's what's worth trying.
Yes.
Absolutely. No, that's the case. Almost in every country. If you think about the funny thing about Greece is that it has a huge history in terms of winemaking and cultivation of vineyards. At the same time, because of the history of Greece, which was owned by Turks, that slowed our evolution in terms of winemaking because there weren't genuine wine, there weren't any cultivation of vineyards, and that kind of sent us back about 400 years.
That's the piece that a lot of people don't know about, like, why we're so behind the eight ball.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And you named a few reasons why it's hard to make wine in Greece. Can you name a few specific reasons where it's challenging to make wine in the vineyard for you?
Well, obviously, we don't have to talk about Santorini because it's in a place quite small, but with very difficult circumstances grow lines. So you don't have a lot of soil. It's mostly volcanic. It's really hot. But when we get to where we are in Peloponnesos, our biggest issue right now obviously is the heat.
Yeah.
And we need to find ways to battle heat. And for us, we're very, very happy and very lucky because 80% of Peloponnesos is covered in mountains. So for us, it's always a solution to plant a bit higher. And the higher you go, so you think every 300 feet you go up, you lose about 0.5 Celsius, which I don't know how much is in Fahrenheit. I have to look it up.
So there's a decrease. I'm sorry, a decrease in temperature.
Yes.
So now the chemistry is changing as you go higher.
Significant. That's a pretty significant change.
Yes.
How high is the elevation?
So in Mantinea, which is very, very interesting, we talked about the time before there, we are about closely to 2,000 feet. And the very interesting about Mantinea and where most Ophelia is grown is that it is surrounded by mountains. And that makes it that the cold winds that arrive, they go over the mountains, and then because cold goes down, they fall and cover the entire area. And that makes it one of the coldest regions of Greece. Even though we're at the south part of Greece in a very hot country, as we know, actually the climate there is very, very cold compared to everything around it. And while if you think about most of the regions we know, they start with the whites and then they end up harvesting the reds, we do the opposite. We start with the agritico, and in September, then October, we start harvesting the Moscophilium because it takes a lot of time to ripe because of how cold it is. And that's how we get these wines. We have really nice acidity, nice freshness, and low alcohol.
We're talking about microclimate for
Yes.
our ecosystem. One thing I found really interesting, Dimitri, maybe you can speak up quickly, is that I noticed that in the Mantinea area, so all of Peloponnesus or Peloponnese, Claudia, is just endless amounts of olive groves. But then when you get to Mantinea, like, where do they go?
Yep, they disappear.
There's no olive groves.
Oh, really?
Yep.
No.
It's just vineyards. Vineyards and vineyards and vineyards. But because I'm assuming you just answered my question, I think, is that because of it's cold. It doesn't allow for olive groves to flourish there.
I have think this is a great remark, and it's funny. It's really good that you see this. Most people don't really understand it, but as you said, wherever you go in Greece, you get olive trees. Why? Why? Because olive trees are really resistant to heat, and they don't need a lot of water. If you go to Mantinea, it's less heat. You have cold weather, and at the same time, you have a lot of water in the region. Mantinea, because it's surrounded by the mountains,
Moisture.
the most north part, used to be a lake. Not how it's dried up, but still, when it rains a lot during the winter, it still rises and makes a small lake.
Interesting.
And that's too much water to have olive trees, but at the same time, when after the lake, you start having vineyards, and they grow also a lot of apple trees because they need water. Also, they have those two things that you don't really find in combination to other places.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have this unique ecosystem.
I love that. This is the geeky stuff.
I'm learning. You learn all the time.
I know.
How long into business, you learn something all the time. Having said that, as we continue to speak, I'm getting. I wanted to try our selection that we have here, which is one of your prizes, Megasinos.
Yes.
That we're very fond of. And we've been, with it for so many years. And this is the current vintage that we're featuring in this episode. But can we have some, Claudia?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you asking me to serve you?
I just want to make sure.
Yes, let's pour. Do you want to tap your cup?
Sure. And we can speak a little bit about Megasinos
Wow,
its story, right? Because that's a pretty big statement, Megasinos.
I love
right?
it.
Yes.
And it's been around for a long time, if I'm not mistaken.
And before you talk about explain the wine again, for the people who have not tried Greek wine, what kind of wine drinker would like this?
Okay. What kind of wine do you get? So this wine is 80% agioligitico. Now, to describe agioligitico is a variety for me really nice finesse, which means red fruit, nice acidity, medium tannins. So not meant for the people that drink Bordeaux that really like tannins or they like Syrahs, really tannin. This is a wine more, there's these people that like more wines with more finesse. And this has also a 20% of Cabernet. So we add a little bit of texture, a little bit of structure, more tannins, but still remain a wine that's balanced between finesse and a little bit of structure.
Wow.
So I would say if you like Sangiovese, if you like Riojas, this is a wine that you can really, really try. It has this lovely expression of flavor. It has also red fruits, a little bit of spices. You have a touch of oak that combines really well, and then you get a little bit of black fruit on notes coming from the Cabernet, and then on mouth you get nice tannins without being too much, without being aggressive. They're nice, they're ripe,
Wow.
and always a nice acidity. That's, for me, it's always the signature of Agricultico. A nice touch of acidity.
I think this is my first time having this wine.
Well, if that's
I
your first
would
time,
love-
let's cheers to
Oh my
that.
god, cheers.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
amazing.
Oh.
Amazing. So these are obviously the two wines we're tasting today. How many wines in total do you offer at the winery?
So we're a winery that plays a lot with different varieties and smaller and bigger productions. We have about 15 to 18 different wines, but a lot of them are small production wines that, as winemakers, we like to have fun. Sometimes we might discover something and say,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's a cool vineyard. Let's try and do it myself.
Like,
That's a cool thing to try." And then we end up having many wines. But it depends. We also have some international varieties. We play with Syrah, with Viognier, and Chardonnay. And we like them a lot. We have some good varieties.
and how many of those wines can you get in the US?
About 10 of them. Here is for them. So obviously the ones made from Greek varieties and that we want to feature and showcase to understand more about Greece are the ones that are exported.
Gotcha.
So about 10 to 20 ones.
Okay, that's great.
And can we speak real quickly of any thing that you'd like to mention, Dimitri, as far as like in the world that we live in today, everyone's top of mind or top topics are, sustainability, eco practices. Anything you want to share about that with?
Yeah, so our winery has been certified sustainable for some years now, which means that we do everything that we can, so there will be no garbage. Everything will be used and then reused. So even let's say the wood, the cuttings that we have from the pruning,
Yes.
we'll use them to make into tiny pieces and then use them on vineyards to kind of add organic material back to the vineyard. We also use the skins that get left out after pressing grapes that we'll also use for adding organic material to the vineyards, and some of them will also we work with the distillery there in our region that will give them the skins and we'll do the distillation.
So, in my opinion, if I can mention to our audience that certified sustainability is more important than certified organic.
I would say the same
For
thing.
sure.
Because just to put it in perspective, because a lot of our audience are still not understanding the fact that they're only looking for, if they want to make a better choice, they're looking for, I want to buy something that's organic. But it goes beyond that. And buying something organic means, okay, they're farming their grapes organically, but what happens after is also just important.
Absolutely. Not to say that organic is not important.
Sure.
If we were to compare the two in a strict sense, I would vote for sustainable, but it doesn't mean that if organic cannot be sustainable. So the certification
Okay.
There you go. So it means that we're going to be drinking cleaner wine thanks to Dimitris and his father George.
I love that. That's definitely something we're focused on in
Absolutely.
2024.
Anything else that you'd like to share with us that's going on at Domaine Skouras that might be something in the pipeline? Maybe there's like first time here listening to it on our episode. Anything that you might want to share that might be relevant to what's going on back home?
Well, something I want to say, I always do that. If you ever in Greece, anyone that's hearing us, watching this episode, I would love them to invite them to the winery. We're about 1 hour away from Athens, and as I said before, it's another thing to hear or try the wines, and another thing to come visit us. For me, it's really, really important, and I try to get as many people as I can to the winery, because that's where you understand our work, and even from how things actually from the vineyard to fermentation to aging, and then we'll see how we were organized. We are serious about wine, and you get a really, really much better feeling of what we do. Converting. And it's also a lovely experience, and we love to share what we do with people. So if you're ever in Greece, please come visit us. That's it's a pleasure for
And
us.
make sure that you're there because it's a
Yes.
whole different experience when you're there.
I'll try.
So just go to your website and schedule a tour from there and get in contact.
That's
Okay.
it.
For our audience, we're definitely going to have all that information in the notes of the podcast. So there'll be all that for them as well that we're going to share.
Yes, we're all going to take you up on that offer.
Amazing. It's a pleasure.
Excellent. Well, Claudia, once again, another great episode. We continue to learn. It continues to become exciting. Want to thank you, Dimitri, for doing this, for coming to this segment. I know you got a busy schedule. I mean, you're here visiting the U.S. market. I'm sure you got a lot to task. But one more time, if we can just cheers. Thank you to your wonderful wines. Much success.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you everyone for watching. See you next time. Cheers.